stained black dragon to kill wormy scum like you. Hey! Where you going? Kill me! Kill me!
Kessen 2 is a real-time strategy game developed and published by Koei for the PlayStation 2. It released in 2001, a year after the first Kessen. Kessen 2 has no real relation to Kessen 1 story-wise, but it does have some similarities in its gameplay, but they're very loose. Kessen 2 is based on the Romance Three Kingdoms, a Chinese novel based on the actual Three Kingdoms period, which took place in the 2nd and 3rd centuries. I will say this game is a very, very, very loose interpretation of the Three Kingdoms, and I both love and hate it. So I hope by the end of this video I will have come to a definitive opinion on whether I love or hate it. So let's begin, as always, with gameplay. This game has no strategic layer, but before every battle you make a political decision between 3 different options, and then after that you choose one of 3 potential strategies for the battle, and that's about it for strategic layer. You don't get to pick which soldiers you take to battle, you don't get to pick which units, you don't get to pick anything. This game has basically removed all of those mechanics from Kessen 1, which is rather unfortunate, I think, but I'll talk about that later. I will say I quite like this choice-based system. It feels nice picking 3 different things before battles and then during them. It also helps with replayability, as I often wanted to replay battles and see how things would go if I'd picked the other option, or if I'd recruited a different officer that I hadn't recruited based on the political decision I'd made. So that's all nice, but as I said, I still don't like the lack of strategic layer that we had in Kessen 1, where we picked officers could defect and stuff like that. That's all gone from this game, unfortunately. So let's move on to the part I really enjoy in this game, the actual combat. To start with, units on the battlefield are made up of characters. You don't get to choose which characters within each unit, but units can often have, and do often have, multiple characters. I've seen units that go up to 4 characters potentially. I mean, they could go even higher under certain circumstances, but as these units are created by the developers and you have no control over them, I imagine they did their best to make them balanced. While we're on the subject of characters, let's talk a little about them. Characters have 4 stats. War, which affects the strength of their soldiers and their morale. Magic, which of course dictates the power of their magical attacks. Fame, which affects how many soldiers a character leads into battle. And finally, experience, which as it increases unlocks new abilities and can lead to the soldiers they control classing up, for lack of a better term. As I said, you have no real control over the units, but they do class up into more advanced classes that have different appearances and do more damage, it seems, which is nice. I like it when units change their appearance in game, which gives a nice feeling of progression as your units go through the game. They change appearance, become more advanced, get new equipment. It's nice to see, definitely. There are also formations you can order the armies to take, which increase certain stats. For example, one formation makes your unit faster, which means they can get places quicker, while other formations increase their attack or increase their defense. Personally, I didn't make much use of formations, as I didn't think they mattered that much, and the game usually assigns a good formation for them right at the beginning, so you don't really need to change it if you don't want to. So let's talk about special abilities. The Zeal system from Kessen 1 is gone in this game. Instead, each ability is depicted by a fireball of a different colour depending upon the type of ability. And unlike in Kessen 1, where you just fire them as you like your abilities, each ability regenerates independently in this game, meaning if you use all your abilities at once, it'll be a long time for them all to regenerate back, as they regenerate kind of in a scripted pattern with one to the other. So let's say you had 3 skills, rally, raid, duel. You used all 3 and rally regenerates first. Then if you use rally again, rally will again regenerate, meaning you may never gain access to those other abilities again if you simply keep using whatever ability regenerates, as they regenerate in a linear line. So that's something to keep an eye on. During battle, it's important to have an idea of what abilities you want to use and not just using them in mass, although that can work just to rush down your enemies. I personally prefer to use my abilities more strategically and only really spam them all out if I'm up against the final enemy or I don't plan to use that unit for any further battles. So let's talk about special abilities. They're divided into two types, magical and martial, as I would call them. Martial abilities are your usual sort of fare. You have duels, you have raids, you have charges, you have rushes, you have volleys and snipes by archers. You also have battle cries, which reduce the enemy's morale. You have rallies, which increase your own morale. You also have a unique one called Iron Wall. This is a little different than other abilities because you can't activate it. Instead, when an enemy uses a magic ability, you have the option to activate it and it will simply negate that magic ability. So let's talk about magic abilities. There are 4 different kinds of magic, that being earth, fire, air and water. The fireballs that show which officers have which abilities often will actually have the colour of the magic ability. For example, martial skills are all green, whereas fire is red, water is blue, earth is brown, and air is yellow. For your magic abilities, you have hail and ice storm, as well as meteor shower, fissure, lightning, gale, fireball, and firestorm. Some of these abilities are all really nice to look at on the battlefield. They all do lots of damage. Magic is very, very powerful in this game. It's easy to just completely destroy enemy units by using magic effectively. But that doesn't mean that martial should be forgotten about. Duels are one of the most powerful moves in the game because of how much they reduce morale. So if a well-timed duel can just lead to an enemy army completely being destroyed if used, and winning it, of course, in an effective way. Magic actually has 3 tiers, with the first tier being rather ineffective, the second tier being better, and the third tier usually being a little over the top. Personally, for me, it's the third tier of hail is my favourite. As you can see though, due to the enemy having an iron wall, none of that did any damage. Even though this gameplay is rather hands-off, I still like it a great deal. You still have to aim your abilities, you still have to choose when to use them, you still have to order the units to move around on the battlefield, and I find it all very enjoyable. Personally, I find it a direct improvement over Kessen 1's gameplay, but I'll make more active comparisons later on in the video. One final thing I'll say about gameplay is it's not actually possible to fully destroy an enemy unit like it was in Kessen 1. Instead, in order to destroy a unit, you need to reduce their morale to 0. Even if you do attacks on a very low amount of soldiers, you sometimes reach a point where you won't do any damage because the unit can't be fully destroyed, which is a little silly, I think. They should have made it so you could actually kill units like you could in Kessen 1. Instead of having this awkward phase where a unit simply can't be damaged because it's been reduced so much and you have to wait for its morale to drop to 0. Outside of that, the game has 2 routes, the Liu Bei route and Tao Tao route respectively, although you have to finish the Liu Bei route to be able to play the Tao Tao route, similar to Kessen 1 where you have to finish the Eastern Army route in order to play the Western Army. There's also 3 different difficulties, beginner, normal and expert. When you first play the game, you're forced to play on beginner for the Liu Bei route, and then when the Tao Tao route is played on normal difficulty. Once you've completed both routes fully, you unlock the expert difficulty, which you can play both routes with. And if you bother to play through the game again on expert difficulty, each campaign has an extra level that can only be acquired on expert difficulty. So that's interesting to see, I guess. Unfortunately, those extra levels don't really add much to the game gameplay or story-wise, which is a bit of a waste. If you're going to have extra levels that require you to play on a higher difficulty to get, then it'd be worth it to have those levels add something substantial to the story or some interesting gameplay. Unfortunately, we don't see that here. Unfortunately, you don't have much control over the progression of your officers. They gain experience in a linear fashion, with you not being able to pick the new abilities they unlock or pick which abilities they gain. It's all scripted. The only thing you do have control of is making sure the officer gains that experience by surviving battles and defeating enemy units. There is actually a final way to increase stats, and that is by using your abilities effective. I'm not sure exactly how the game decides, but if you use, let's say, a magic attack or a martial attack and you do a lot of damage, then at the end of the attack you'll get a notification that that officer's war or magic skill has increased, which I guess means the game decided you did a good job with that attack and to reward you by increasing that character's stats. That's the only way I'm aware of, other than just surviving battles and defeating officers, to actually increase your stats. Now let's move on to the part of this game that I maybe don't have the best opinion of, the story and overall plot. To start with, this game is not a very good representation of the Three Kingdoms period or the novel. I will likely say that multiple times in this video, but since we're about to start with the story, I feel a pressing need to say it right now. So first of all, we see Liu Bei fighting some bandits around his lands in Zhu province when our other protagonist, Cao Cao, arrives and saves him. Then they have a feast together, and a fortune teller tells them their fortunes. After that, Cao Cao kidnaps Liu Bei's lover, Diao Chan, and the game begins. We get to see this aerial shot of Diao Chan being taken from the air, which makes it look like some sort of giant crab. Here we get our first pre-battle cutscene, which sets the scene and tells us a little bit about the characters, where things are taking place, and who's doing what. I really like these cutscenes, even if the pronunciation of certain people and places is not exactly accurate, let's say.
After Cao Cao's sudden attack and kidnapping of Diao Chan from the capital, Liu Bei is narrowly able to escape to his own land of Zhu. Cao Cao, sensing the opportunity to seize the Zhu province, orders his vassal, the fierce general Jiahao Yuan, to attack. Jiahao Yuan's army approaches, yet Liu Bei has not yet decided whether he will engage in war with Cao Cao.
Liu Bei is undecided over whether he wants to fight Cao Cao, probably because he has Diao Chan hostage, which makes a lot of sense, honestly. But he gets convinced when he sees all his various soldiers cheering him and shoots out this strange beam of light. This is never really explained what this light was or why he did it, but it happened. And so we start our first battle. This battle is mainly just a tutorial, so not a lot interesting happens story-wise as the game just explains its mechanics to you. But there is one cutscene I think has some worth seeing.
What you doing, idiot?
Please forgive me, but we have lost this battle.
Do I really have to? These guys are cake.
You may recognize the voice actor here for Himiko, as she plays Gaz in Invader Zim, as well as Neptunia in the various Neptunia games. Zhao Yun does arrive, and that's the last thing of note in this level. After that we simply win. After the battle, Guan Ping joins us. We'll have various characters join over the course of the game. Some are optional and some are scripted to join at the end of battles like this one, or during them, like Zhao Yun. Then we have one of the weirder moments in the game where Liu Bei, after every battle, will essentially have a voice chat with Diao Chan from her prison in the Imperial Palace.
Liu Bei, can you hear me? Liu Bei?
Diao Chan! Diao Chan!
Liu Bei!
Diao Chan, I was so worried about you!
I knew it! How I knew you would look in the crystal!
Where are you? Tell me!
I don't know. I'm kept locked inside of here. Although... I suspect it's the capital.
The capital.
Liu Bei, I feel very...
Diao Chan, are you alright?
Liu Bei?
Diao Chan, what happened? Are you alright? Diao Chan!
These moments are definitely weird. Luckily they don't have much involvement with the plot, so I don't think I'll bother showing them any further in this video. Instead we continue to the next battle, the battle at Runan.
In the ongoing struggle for control of the north, fighting between Cao Cao and Yuan Shao reaches a standoff in Guandu. Liu Bei sees this as an opportunity to advance on the weakened capital of Zhuchang and plans an attack. His army proceeds from Runan to Zhuchang, which Cao Cao has already vacated.
This is our first non-tutorial battle and it introduces us to the wall cancel system, where we choose a strategy before the battle begins. Unfortunately, this level has no real story impact. All that happens in the battle is that Zhao Kang shows up halfway through and joins us. After that, we have our usual Dio Chan-based voice chats, which aren't really of note, and we continue to the next level.
Liu Bei is able to defeat Jun Yu at Runan. However, taking advantage of his enemy's absence, Cao Cao's army captures Liu Bei's stronghold at Zhu. With nowhere to return to, Liu Bei's only chance is to depend on Liu Bao, lord of the Jing province. Liu Bei borrows Jingyi Castle from Liu Bao and prepares for an assault by Cao Cao's army.
Whoops, lost our whole territory. Maybe it was a bad idea to attack with everything and leave nothing behind to defend your base, but oh well. Luckily, in the next battle we'll acquire somebody with a little more intelligence for our faction who will help Liu Bei not make such stupid decisions in the future.
Cao Cao conquers the northern region around Hebei when he defeats Yuan Shao at the Battle of Guandu. Now ruler over Zhangyuan, Cao Cao's goal is to combine the Jing province and Wu. He begins his campaign by ordering his vassal Cao Ren to attack Jinyi. Liu Bei, lacking the services of a skilled warlord, has begun to feel vulnerable. He seeks out the strategic genius Zhuge Liang, who lives in religious seclusion in the Jing province of Wulonggun.
This is the third time we've come this far to visit Zhuge Liang. After all this time in trouble, brother, he'd better be the best warlord in the land.
Just think. What if he really can't perform magic? That would be something to see, wouldn't it? I'd like to see that.
Heaven's mandate.
How does it move? Huh?
Zhu Liang basically just calls Liu Bei a loser over and over again and says he has no chance of actually defeating Cao Cao. Liu Bei goes on a rant about he doesn't care about Cao Cao or the Han Empire, he only cares about getting Diao Chan back, and then he goes to leave the cave with Zhu Liang teleporting in front of him and saying, well, I didn't say I wasn't gonna join, so I guess we gain a strategist in that regard. I'm actually going to draw the line for story spoilers here. To be fair, nearly this entire game is spoilers from start to finish, but I think this is a good point to start talking about spoilers in more detail. You've probably got a good enough overview of the game at this point to decide whether it's something you'd like to play or something you care enough about the story of to play yourself without being spoiled, so this is your opportunity to stop watching or skip ahead. There'll be timestamps in the descriptions telling you when the spoilers end so you can make your own decisions. This level's a little different as we plan a strategy and things immediately go off the rail with Zhang Fei charging into the enemy lines.
Hey! Comrade! You're a coward! Come out and fight! It's all over now! Surrender like a man!
Father, wait! Be careful or you'll make the warlord mad! You're going to put all of us in great danger!
I will fight you, General, and risk facing my own doom.
Jiaho Yuan! At last I have a worthy opponent! Oh, I have vanquished Jiaho Yuan!
Father, the enemy has us surrounded! You're useless when you go crazy like that! When will you learn to control your temper?
Now I've done it.
This is the only thing of note that happens in this level other than the ending where Zhang Fei explains the reason why he couldn't follow orders is because he didn't trust Zhu Liang, which makes Zhu Liang feel a little, let's say he doesn't really want to stay with Liu Bei's faction any longer. We have our usual Dio Chan based voice chats and then it's on to the next level.
Liu Bei's army, aided by the resourcefulness of warlord Zhuge Liang, repels the forces led by Cao Ren. However, now that he is secure in his conquest of the northern provinces, it is all too clear that it will be only a matter of time before Cao Cao turns his greedy eyes to the south. A cloud of dread spreads slowly toward the Jing province. In a concerted effort to conquer the world, Cao Cao begins his march out of Zhuchang. Meanwhile, the Jing province has fallen into an abyss of misery and disorder as a direct result of the massive destruction they have suffered through. Overwhelmed by Cao Cao's army, Liu Bei is unable to press his attack. Instead, he heads for Jiakou to recuperate and rebuild his ranks. Hearing the news of Cao Cao's imminent approach, Liu Bei's army collapses in defeat without so much as a fight.
Well, things haven't gone well at all. Nearly everyone has abandoned Liu Bei except for Zhang Fei, Guan Yu and their children, and this battle is a running away battle where the goal is to get Liu Bei to the end of the level successfully while being chased by a very, very large Tao Tao army. When Liu Bei finds out everyone's abandoned him, he loses it and starts laughing maniacally, so Guan Yu punches him in the face to bring him back to his senses. I will say though, someone should have punched Zhang Fei, as arguably he's to blame for Zhu Liang leaving in the first place. This level does have a few cutscenes, mainly officers returning to save Liu Bei, like Zhu Liang. Unfortunately, Zhao Yun doesn't actually come back, so he's gone until very later on in the game.
What was that?
Don't you dare touch Cao Cao!
Zhuge Liang, where have you been? That's Cao Cao's. Did you face him by yourself, Zhuge Liang?
The Lord Sorceress prevented me from bringing you his head. Now that you've seen it, do you believe I am loyal to you?
You are incredible.
Well, I must get back to my troops. Please excuse me. Goodbye.
After Liu Bei successfully escapes, we get a cutscene showing why exactly Cao Cao can't pursue him any further. After the battle, both Pang Tong and Hong Zhong join our side. Then we get our usual chats with Diao Chan, though she seems to be becoming more erratic and crazed as time goes on. And then it's off to the climactic showdown at Chibi.
After working his way to Jiakou, Liu Bei hopes to work together with the Kingdom of Wu under the direction of Zhuge Liang. Wu is a great independent state built by the mighty Sun Quan. Into this land of wealth and strength, inherited from his forefathers, Sun Quan has gathered a large body of skilled fighting men. With Cao Cao's forces on the horizon, Sun Quan feels uneasy. However, he forms an alliance with Liu Bei and agrees to face Cao Cao's great army. Meanwhile, Cao Cao's army, which is garrisoned in the Jing province, hastily prepares for the inevitable, a fierce and dangerous naval battle.
For this battle, we have the option of recruiting Kai Mao in our political phase, and of course I do that because extra officers are always nice to have.
Now, ready for battle, Cao Cao's fleet departs from Jiangling and takes position on the north coast of Chibi. Meanwhile, Liu Bei's ships join Sun Quan's fleet, and together they sail to a site along Chibi's south coast. Liu Bei and Sun Quan, clearly outmatched by their adversary, form a plan to ensure victory. They will find a way to lure Cao Cao's fleet towards them set fire to his ships, and thereby annihilate Cao Cao's seagoing forces. The greatest naval battle in history is about to begin.
Has enough guts to fight me?
Liu Bei has joined the Xin Quan and is preparing to attack. However, they have only half our strength. We have nothing to fear.
They are nothing but fools. I have the mandate of heaven. You are all doomed. You fight me with paper swords. Cao Cao will not be defeated!
We do see these really big capital ships in these cutscenes. Unfortunately, they don't actually appear in the game, which is definitely disappointing. This battle is actually our first naval battle, and so there's a very, very short tutorial about how ships work. Then we get to see a cutscene of Zhu De Liang dancing, because as we know, dancing is how you make the wind blow.
As if the wind is really gonna blow. This is suicide.
Zhuge Liang, don't fail.
Naval battles aren't that different to normal battles. The only disadvantage, you can't use a lot of martial skills like dueling, charges, rushes on ships, probably because there's not a lot of room to maneuver. This battle has a few cutscenes of various people saying the wind isn't going to blow, it's never blown, it'll never blow. And then it has a rather strange cutscene of Liu Bei dueling with a giant man in the sky.
What the? The mandate of heaven?
Do not disturb the movements of heaven and earth.
What?
The mandate of heaven cannot be changed.
Curse your mandate! I will triumph in this war!
Do not defy heaven. Do not disturb the movements of heaven and earth.
The wind! The wind is up!
We will win! Now we will win! Flames of hell! Burn, Chibi! Burn!
After this rather strange cutscene, we set fire to Cao Cao's fleet and the battle's pretty much won at this point. After the battle, Ma Su, a general all-around guy who never did anything wrong, joins our faction, and we get our usual voice chats with Diao Chan, who congratulates us on winning, but also shows that the natural disasters in the country are becoming worse, maybe because Liu Bei killed the Mandate of Heaven or whoever that giant sky guy was, and now things have fallen out of harmony.
Earthquakes, locusts, wars. Guess this is it for the Han Empire.
Everyone says that Lord Cao Cao wants to start a new government, but I don't think I want the kind he's thinking about.
Hey, I think this Liu Bei fellow would make a fine ruler. Everyone says that he's a decent man.
Keep your voice down. If Cao Cao's troops hear you talking like that, you'll regret it.
With that, we move on to the Siege of Chengdu. This is one of the few battles where we actually fight a faction that isn't Cao Cao.
Liu Bei and Sun Quan achieve a miraculous victory at Chibi. The defeated Cao Cao retreats to Zhuchang. After the battle, Liu Bei gains control over the southern half of the Jing province and places it under his rule.
During the political phase for this level, we actually get introduced to Zhu Delong's wife, who's actually voiced by Himiko's voice actor.
Isn't that neat? We attach special wings, launch them from the pad, and whoosh! It will be a wonderful way to invade the enemy's castle from the sky. Pretty cool, yeah?
Yi Province. This fertile land west of the Jing province is ruled by Liu Zhang, an ally of Cao Cao. Suffering a major defeat in Chibi, Cao Cao plots with Liu Zhang to trick Liu Bei into taking the offensive. Anticipating Cao Cao's scheme, Liu Bei takes his council's advice and advances his troops to Yi Province. Anxious to avoid a needless battle, Liu Bei shrewdly moves on to Chengdu, the capital of Yi Province, where he hopes to persuade Liu Zhang to reconsider.
You just walk right in here all by yourself, do you? I guess all the rumors about your heroics are true.
Lord Lu Xiang, I do not seek to wage war. Join me and fight Cao Cao. We must resist him, or the people will suffer.
I understand. Do not wish to fight either. However, I can't break the alliance I made with Cao Cao.
You would side with a heinous tyrant like Cao Cao?
Poor Cao Cao. I pity him so much.
Pity?
I've known him since he was just a little boy. He was a sweet, adorable child. But war has changed him so much, I'm afraid. He's a merciless, vicious despot. I have a long-standing agreement. I cannot break my treaty with him. I'll leave at once.
My lord!
You enter my home and ask me to betray a friend? Go as I told you. War is no longer avoidable.
While we're in this standoff, Ma Chao of Shamon Gate or Jia Hao Bao of Hanzhang could attack from the rear at any time.
We have to fight then.
Cao Cao was a sweet, adorable child, but war has changed him so much, I'm afraid. He's a merciless, vicious despot.
It is time. We will plan the attack on Chengdu Castle.
Yes, sir. Very, very minor tangent, but why exactly is Liu Zhang so buff? Like, that is not how I imagined Liu Zhang at all in real history, or the novel, or anything else for that matter. He's never really been depicted anything other than a ineffectual ruler. Minor tangent over, though. This battle is our first siege battle, and one of the few in the game. It's not that different to a normal battle, except you have to break through gates and can climb walls to get inside the enemy city. Early into the level, Ma Chao arrives, and him and Liu Bei have a conversation using ancient technology which allows them to communicate over hundreds of miles. Outside of that, this level only has one cutscene in the form of the Hawk troops being used, which is a pretty cool cutscene, I'll admit. After the battle, Liu Zhang dies and Fa Zheng comes and joins us. Then we have our usual chats with Diao Chan, and she really gives it to Liu Bei, saying he's just like Tao Tao, killing an innocent man for no reason just to conquer more territory. And she's kind of right, Liu Zhang really didn't deserve it. Liu Bei can only pathetically say he did it to conquer more territory so he can rescue her, which causes her to leave halfway through the chat. Maybe this game had its finger on the pulse of what was going to happen 20 years in the future after its production, who can say? This battle is rather interesting. It's actually a choice between 3 different battles.
Liu Bei defeats Liu Zhang, subjugating Yi Province. Meanwhile, bouncing back from his defeat in Chibi, Cao Cao goes on the offensive against Liu Bei. He directs Jia Haoban to take Hanzhong and has Cao Ren of Fangjing prepared to attack the Jing Province. Then, seemingly in concert with Cao Cao, the king of the Man clan, Meng Huo, advances towards the Yi province border in an act of open rebellion. Liu Bei finds himself forced to split his army into thirds in order to fight the enemy on 3 fronts simultaneously.
With you only able to do 1 per playthrough. Personally, I chose to do the Fang Castle battle simply because it has a certain cutscene that I showed at the start of the video, which is worth seeing, and it gives us another officer by the name of Wei Yan, who's one of my favourite characters in the 3 Kingdoms.
Cao Ren, garrisoned at Fangjing, prepares to advance and attack the Jing province, as Cao Cao has commanded. Guan Yu, charged with protecting the Jing province, anticipates this attack and reports to Liu Bei in Chengdu. He goes on the offensive first by surrounding Fangjing. In order to save Cao Ren in Fangjing, Cao Cao dispatches generals Pang De and Yu Jin. To counter this, Liu Bei leads his own unit to support Guan Yu as he surrounds Fangjing.
The stars are in great disorder, making it extremely difficult to predict the future.
Even for you?
Yes, my lord. However, that bright, shining star up there is our light of hope.
That star?
Yes. Before, it was a faint light. But now, it has gained strength from the surrounding stars and is shining brightly. This is my Lord's star.
It is my star.
After some stargazing, the battle begins, and we use a certain siege weapon, which is rather, let's say, inhumane. I know Zhu Liang invented the wheelbarrow and the wheelchair, but he's a war criminal. I'm tired of pretending he's not. Then, if Guan Yu and Pang De encounter each other on the battlefield, this cutscene plays.
I am Pang Di. Heed me well. I've come to end your line. I will put you in your coffin and steal your famous horse, Red Hair. Go ahead, kill me.
I'm a stained black dragon to kill wormy scum like you.
Hey, where are you going? Kill me! Kill me!
I know I already showed this cutscene at the start of the video, but it's honestly just too good not to watch a second time. After that, the battle ends, and we get Wei Yan as an officer. Then we have our usual chats with Diao Chan, but oh no, she's fraternizing with Tao Tao, and we get to see it live. Liu Bei does what any real man does, and just simply decides to pretend he never even saw that, and it never even happened. It's much easier that way.
Liu Bei, having subdued his enemies on all three fronts and eliminating any immediate threat, assumes ruling power over Hanzhong, the Yi province, the southern Jing province, and Nanman. People now refer to Liu Bei's territory as Shu and call his military the Army of Shu. Meanwhile, to counter Liu Bei's increasing power, Cao Cao banishes the Han Emperor. He names himself Emperor and establishes the Wei dynasty, marking the end of 400 years of prosperity under the Hans. Yet the land remains in chaos. Liu Bei decides to advance into Wei Empire territory. With his entire army behind him, he moves toward Tianshui. When news that Liu Bei is leading the Shu army in an attack reaches Zhu Chang, Cao Cao leads his own great army to intercept the invasion.
There have been earthquakes. They caused great famine. All the villagers have fled.
And many have become bandits.
What is causing these disasters? My terrible battles with Cao Cao. Oh! Cao Cao! Return Diao Chan!
You're a fool, doing this for a woman. You're to blame for this. You provoked the gods and broke the mandate of heaven. Look at this village. Behold the locusts!
Down with the rebels! Down with Liu Bei! Down with the rebels! Down with Liu Bei!
Lord Liu Bei, be confident! Do not fear!
Zhao Yun!
I am Zhong Wei of Tianshui. Lord Liu Bei, we have been waiting for you. Please help us bring this land back to life. Our situation is desperate.
These natural disasters are not caused by Liu Bei. Cao Cao built a government against the will of the people. That's the cause.
How dare you!
Zhao Yun!
That's right. I finally realized the truth. He who is loved by the people is the one who should rule them. Now we'll see where the mandate lies.
He who's loved by the people?
He's loved by the people? Don't make me laugh. People want a leader who's strong. Himiko, turn them to dust.
Right. About time, huh?
Zhuge retreat and regroup.
After seeing that rather silly cutscene of Zhu Liang flying away, Zhao Yun rejoins us. Hurrah! He's only been missing for literally the entire game up until this point, but I'm sure he'll make up for it.
Diao Chan, I have found my path. This is what I was born to do. If my lord follows the path he believes in his heart, to be the true path, the disasters will end. I will bring peace to the land, and rule with the people's help. But first, Cao Cao, I will crush your greedy ambition! To war!
battle doesn't have much going for it, although halfway through, Liu Bei has a dream of when he first met Diao Chan, but for some reason the dream is from Zhang Fei's perspective.
Diao Chan!
Nice girl, huh?
Yeah, she sure is, Liu Bei. Why don't you go talk to her?
Liu Bei! He's actually going! Yeah! Go for it, brother!
I know we will save her.
To battle!
After that, we simply win the battle, and then we go to have our usual chats with Diao Chan, but oh no, something's wrong.
What a dummy!
What? It's broken!
Results in Liu Bei leading the Shu army to victory. Cao Cao is forced to flee to Zhuchang. Liu Bei plans an attack on the great city of Chang'an in western Wei. He stops in Tianshui and attempts to raise cavalry reinforcements. In response, Cao Cao sends warlord Sima Yi to the strategic city of Chengkang on Tianshui's front. He charges General Xiang Liao with the defense of Chang'an and convinces Kai Wengi, Queen of Fu, to threaten the Shu army's flank. In order to capture Chang'an, Liu Bei decides to split his army into 3 divisions and dispatches them in different directions.
We get another one of these split choice levels. Personally, I go for the Ji province level simply because doing that level will allow us to recruit 2 new officers, which is pretty hard to argue with.
Ji, a land widely separated from Hanzhong. The cities have been inhabited since the Han period, and on the frontier, the Fu people actively engage in trade. Cao Cao, appealing to Kai Wengi, the Queen of Fu, asks her to engage Liu Bei and the Shu army from behind. Granting the request, Kai Wengi attacks various cities in Ji. Liu Bei leads his main unit into Ji in an attempt to protect its people.
Then we get a cutscene of Liu Bei hanging out by the water, feeling depressed about having no Diao Chan, which I assume is his usual hobby. Then we get a horrible message that Diao Chan is actually dead. How horrible. This battle's a little strange, as we have to defeat the enemy commander 4 times as 4 separate units. Also, Ma Dai will defect to us if we use Ma Chao's strategy for the battle. Other than that, I wouldn't say it's noteworthy, other than the fact that, again, we get to fight non-Tao Tao based troops, instead get to fight these brown Ji troops, who are mainly horseback riders. After that, the enemy commander joins us, so we get an extra officer as well, which is nice. And because our disc thingy's broken, we can't talk to Diao Chan anymore, so we don't have to bother listening to her either, which is also kind of nice. No, wait, I'm sorry, she's dead. That's it, that's why we can't talk to her after all, haha.
Conquers Ji, causing the collapse of Chang'an. He now rules the western half of the continent. Suddenly, Cao Cao and the newly formed Wei Empire face annihilation almost as quickly as they were established. Sensing danger, Cao Cao persuades Liu Bei's sworn friend and ally Sun Quan to attack and betray Liu Bei. Liu Bei, leading the Shu army, waits for a chance to attack Cao Cao's stronghold at Luoyang. At the same time, Sun Quan is convinced by Cao Cao to make preparations to attack the Jing province.
Liu Bei is dreaming about Diao Chan again, and while he is, he gets informed by Zhilong via star transmission that Guan Yu is being attacked by Wu. They have betrayed us.
Guan Yu is defending the Jing province with great strength, and our advanced unit is slowly being demolished.
Even if Liu Bei caused these disasters, still, this is betrayal.
If
we don't strike Liu Bei now, our glorious state of Wu will fall.
A traitor. Sun Quan, who pledged allegiance, betrayed us. Brother!
This is one of the few battles where we don't actually get to plan before it, we're basically just thrown into it. It's also one of the hardest levels in the game, since you're outnumbered right from the start, and if you just charge in, Liu Bei will almost definitely get killed by the many Wu units. The real strategy is simply to wait around as long as possible so that reinforcements can arrive from elsewhere and help you defeat the Wu army. Unfortunately, there's no real cutscenes in this level except for the final one where Liu Bei says, "Don't worry, bro," to Sun Quan. "I will let you keep all of your land. I have no intention of dethroning you or anything." But can you really trust a man called Liu Bei?
Overwhelmed by Liu Bei's Shu army, Sun Quan surrenders, giving control of Wu to Liu Bei. Meanwhile, Cao Cao abandons Luo Yang, concentrating his efforts on the outskirts of Zhucheng. He prepares for the coming battle. Liu Bei, with his entire army behind him, prepares to invade Cao Cao's stronghold, Zhucheng. Meanwhile, Cao Cao begins mobilizing the entire Wei Empire to strengthen his forces. Then he moves to intercept Liu Bei. Now, the final battle is about to begin in the outskirts of Zhucheng.
Hey, Zhuge Liang! What strange tricks are you up to? I foresaw what was to come. Cao Cao will conquer the world! Cao Cao is fated to win. It is written in the stars.
Lord Liu Bei's strong will has surpassed the mandate of heaven.
It's your fault. You're a loser, a big fat loser. Stupid too, but whatever. Tell Liu Bei to be on the battlefield tomorrow. He'll get to see Jiao Chun.
Lady Jiao Chun.
She's alive? For now. Who knows about tomorrow? See ya!
Last Liu Bei.
Cao Cao, I will destroy you and take back Jiao Chan. You're nothing but a pawn to the mandate of heaven.
In the past, I took my strength from the mandate of heaven, but now I will start a new world on my own.
I will not allow it.
Liu Bei! Stop it!
Jiao Chan, don't despair. You will not conquer this land. The people will never follow you.
The hearts of the people always follow the new monarch. That's the divine principle.
Cao Cao, tomorrow morning in fair battle, you and I will fight to the death.
You make me laugh. Flee while you can.
You should flee.
You should flee? Very strong comeback from Liu Bei. Unfortunately, this final battle is rather uninteresting. There's only one strategy you can use, and it's basically a straight all-out brawl between your army and Cao Cao's army until one of you comes out on top. Although there is one thing, a literal giant hole in the sky.
What is it? What's that? Perhaps the enemy's magician has disordered heaven and earth to try to destroy our army. What do you mean? Let me take care of it. I will find the sorceress and put a stop to it.
I said there's not really much going on in this battle, and there isn't, except if Zhu Deliang reaches the point where the giant hole in the sky is, then we get this cutscene.
such means to kill us, even if it meant your own death?
Su de Leon.
I can't believe Himiko's dead. Oh well. After that, we win the battle pretty easily. Diao Chan is reunited with Liu Bei, and she tells him that Cao Cao gave her the Imperial Seal and told her to tell Liu Bei to make a better world, and then credits roll. Or do they? Instead, the game immediately continues into the Cao Cao route. Now, I don't want to talk much about the Cao Cao route, mainly because it's the exact same campaign for Cao Cao, but from the opposite perspective. But there are a few story elements that are worth noting. In the Cao Cao route, we learn that Liu Bei and Cao Cao are actually brothers. No one ever informs Liu Bei of this in his own route, but Cao Cao knows pretty much the whole of his route. And that's one of the reasons he actively avoids killing Liu Bei in his route. In his route, Liu Bei actually survives in the ending, whereas Cao Cao dies in Liu Bei's route, because I assume Liu Bei's unaware. Cao Cao actually goes through quite a lot of character development in his route. He warms up to people, stops being so harsh, and ironically, his relationship with Diao Chan is more of a friendship than a romantic relationship. I would say the Cao Cao route feels like a more comedic route. I feel like there's a lot more humorous scenes, mainly due to Himiko's presence, like this one.
Cao Cao, it's okay, because I will be with you.
Himiko, victory is already in our hands. They will be destroyed.
You never know. Something bad could happen. But if it does, I'll protect you. I'd do anything for you, Cao Cao.
My lord, the enemy is preparing a fire attack.
I love you. And you love me too, don't you?
The fool. A fire attack. Without any wind, they'll be lucky to light a torch.
Right now, the enemy is pleading with heaven.
Oh, yes. And heaven is on our side. The mandate of heaven is with us. To battle!
Now, after that very lengthy story segment, let's move on to the positives. I really enjoy this game's gameplay. It's a pity that no other game has really tried to copy or make anything similar. There are also unique choices to make in battles and before battles, which helps gives replayability and makes it feel like, you're making your own progress through the story, instead of just being on a linear track. Which of course you are. I think this could have been strengthened by having different endings or alternate endings depending on the choices you make in the game, but it's fine as it is, I think. One thing that puts this game above Kessen 1 is that you don't get a cutscene every time you give an order, which means you won't start dreading giving orders like I started to do in Kessen 1. Being actively able to control your officers in battle and walk around on the battlefield with them is nice, even though it doesn't really do much other than giving you an opportunity to aim their abilities. And while I don't have exactly a positive view on the story, I do think it's quite good. It's definitely enjoyable as a story. My main problems, well, I'll go into them into the negative section. I really like that your units change their appearance as they gain experience. That's one of the things I love in games where there's cosmetic upgrades as well as actual physical upgrades. There's also some unique duels that happen between characters that have some sort of story relation. For example, Zhang Fei and Xiahou Ba, and Guan Yu and Zhang Liao. That's something I really like as well. Alright, here we go. Time for the negatives. Here it comes. Perhaps my biggest negative possible is that you cannot skip animations once a ability is active, you have to watch the whole way through. Even if it's blocked by an iron wall, even if it does nothing, even if it kills everyone, you have to watch every single battlefield cutscene except for battles that you aren't present for. For example, if you're watching Zhang Fei and Zhang Liao fight and let's say Xiahou Ba uses an ability on Guan Yu and you're not there to see it, you don't have to watch it, thankfully. But still, having to watch every ability you use and everyone you're present for, it definitely gets draining, seeing the same cutscenes over and over again. Even if they are interesting, because it's important to know how much damage your attacks do, still, I need to be able to skip those. Come on now. Your armies can also be quite bad at pathfinding. Luckily, you can physically take control of them and direct them, but there were multiple times when my armies were stuck on corners or stuck on each other and couldn't get around each other until I manually took control and maneuvered them around each other. But so that's definitely something that was a major negative, I think. Another major negative is there's no indication when a ability can be used again. This was a problem that it was Kessen 1 essentially solved by having you have a list of all of your characters and their hats and them flashing when they could use an ability. In Kessen 2, there's no way for you to know if an ability is recharged unless you're keeping an eye on that character and actively seeing it recharge. So it feels like you have to just periodically go around to all your officers and see if they've recharged abilities, which definitely feels like a waste of time. Now, I will say this game is simply a bad sequel to Kessen 1. There were lots of unique mechanics in Kessen 1 that simply aren't present here. There's no battlefield defections, you can't lose battles to get different routes. In fact, there are no splitting routes at all. So as a sequel to Kessen 1, it's definitely a poor one. I think this game would have been better off if it was simply called something else and not in any way attached to the Kessen name, since there's so little comparing this to Kessen. This is also a very bad representation of the Realm Three Kingdoms. Again, it could have easily just been set in any fantasy place and not had all of the relation with these real characters and real people, which I think does drag down the experience, seeing that real people act this way that is so out of character with their historical counterparts. There's also no Wu route. Why even have Wu in the game if we're not going to be able to play them? They even have their own UI and color, so it's weird that they're unplayable. We also have a few characters that are mentioned in the game but don't appear, like Yuan Shao and Liu Biao, for example. I was very disappointed when I first played this game decades ago, and I got to the Tao Tao route, and oh no, you can't fight Yuan Shao because he simply doesn't exist. So that's a grudge I still hold against this game. Also, where's Lu Bu? Where's Dong Zhuo? Why is Dio Chan with Liu Bei? Why it doesn't make any sense. I mean, the more I think about how this game relates to the actual plot of the Three Kingdoms, the more I hate it. If I just don't think about it, this game is great, and I love this game. But if I think about it at all, like, there's no way to escape the stuff that just doesn't make sense from a Three Kingdoms perspective. But that might just be a me problem, or anyone who has an interest in the actual Three Kingdoms period. Despite all the negative things I have to say about this game, I do think it is a lot of fun. My main complaint is the story and plot. But I've already talked a lot about that, and if I were really forced to say, I would say I love this game, but I'm very much on the edge and could switch sides easily depending on my feelings at the time. I just wish this game was better, I suppose. There are so many good ideas and concepts in this game that I wish had been expanded on in a sequel, but they weren't, and no other game has tried to make a game like this. So maybe my main problem is with the wider game industry for not taking the mechanics of this game and making something more. All that said, I think this game is definitely worth playing. Maybe not 4 times in order to see the 2 extra levels, but once for the 2 routes is definitely worth it. Thank you for watching my video. Have you played Kessen 2? If so, don't hesitate to share your thoughts. Even if you haven't, I would enjoy hearing your thoughts on the game regardless. Don't forget to like, dislike, subscribe and unsubscribe. For my next video, well, let's have some hints. It'll be a country simulator. You're in charge of the transitional government in your country after a successful revolution. Your country is a fictional Middle Eastern country named after a breed of dog. That's enough hints. If you know or don't, feel free to guess in the comments. Thank you again, and see you next time.